My name is Catherine Drummond of Gingerbread Girl Designs, and this lesson is on the whipped back stitch. This is a stitch that I like to use in my Punto Antico embroidery, but it's a great stitch for any kind of a line that you would like to be really nice and smooth and curved. So the first thing that you're going to want to do if you found this video just on YouTube is to go to my website at gingerbreadgirl.ca and go to the how-to section and take a look at the whipped back stitch. There will be some diagrams there, and you can print those off so that you can follow along with this lesson with me. Now that we all have our diagrams in front of us, I'm going to start stitching the backstitch motif that's in diagram 1. And if you take a look at it, you'll see that this is a symmetrical design that has some nice curves to it, although when we backstitch it, it's going to look a little choppy. And it has a sharp point in the center. And when you're doing the whipped backstitch, you're going to want to start at that sharp point rather than starting at one end and working to the other end, and you'll see why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to backstitch that motif. I'm going to do 1/2 of it. And I'm working on 32 count linen here with a number 8 pearl cotton. The pearl cotton that I like to use is DMC. It comes in a wide range of colors, especially in the number 8. Okay, so I have that motif just about stitched now. There's my last stitch. Okay, so that's 1/2 of the motif. You'll see it's the left hand side of that back stitch motif. Now what we're going to do is come up at the very end that we just finished, again with the needle, and bring the thread to the front. And now we're going to do the whipping. And I like to start on the inside of a curve, so I slide my needle right under that stitch. It doesn't pierce the fabric at all, and you want to make sure that it slides under the stitch and you don't pierce the stitch. And a good way to help you do this is to use a tapestry needle for this. If you can take a look at the tapestry needle that I have here. Where is it? There it is. A tapestry needle has a blunt point. And when you're working with fabrics where you want to go through the holes that are already there, a blunt point is really good because it slides around the fabric threads. A sharp point wants to pierce the fabric threads. And when you're doing the whipped back stitch, you also don't want to pierce the stitching threads. So we're just going to slide under each stitch. All the way back to our starting point. And as you can see, whipping these back stitches smooths out the line. It makes it a little bit more dimensional. It looks like that stitch, the stitches are lying right on top of the thread, or right on top of the fabric rather, instead of going through. And you'll see this last stitch here, it was the first one that I did, is longer than the other ones, but we still just whip it once. And now that we've gotten to the end of our back stitch line, we plunge down into the same hole where we started, and that is 1/2 of the motif. Now I'm going to stitch the other half, and it's done exactly the same way. Now I've backstitched the other half of the motif, and here you can really see the difference between the whipped back stitch on the left hand side and the plain back stitch on the right hand side. The whipped backstitch is smoother and it's more dimensional. So this is a great stitch for a little bit of a different look from the backstitch that you might have been using. And now I've completed the entire motif in whipped backstitch. I hope that this lesson has been useful for you and that you really enjoy stitching punto antico embroidery and other types of embroidery using this stitch.